97.3. Accra.
At 12 midday, update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
City News.
It's midday. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Citi Prime News live from our studio at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka, Accra. My name is Adjuatin Krama Domina, here with
Wilma Obobisa Coleman.
Coming up in the next hour, minority backs calls for the revocation of legislative instrument which permits mining in forest reserves.
The Speaker, we are not just objecting, and care should be taken, and let's take reflection back to serious issues that have been raised on this floor, and minority have raised objections.
Also coming up, inflation for the month of November drops to 26.4% from 35.2% in the month of October.
The rate of inflation stood at 26.4%. This means that between the month of November 2022 and November 2023, generally price of goods and services went up by 26.4%.
Still ahead, government to dualize the Kaswa-Winneba Highway as construction begins on the stretch.
You can see behind us, the contractor even mobilizing to site, and the contractor is not Fairmont. That is the company going to undertake this project. And from Kaswa to Winneba roundabout, a 30-kilometer stretch.
And later, we'll bring you a special report on the factors leading to a consistent decline in participation in district-level elections over the years. This bulletin is live on all our partner stations across the country. In the Upper West region, we are on Tumpani Radio 88.5, Jirapa 96.1 FM. In the Upper East region, we are on Recast 92.1 FM. In the Northern region, find us on North Star Radio 92.1 FM. In the Northeast region, we are on Nobia FM 98.1. In the Western region, this is Beach 105.5 FM. In the Ashanti region, Focus 94.3 FM. Orange 107.9 FM. In the Volta region, we are on Sela Radio 97.1 FM and Holy FM 98.5. And in the Savannah region, we are on Kasha 99.5 FM in Damongo.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
A very warm welcome to you. We begin our stories now, and for the fourth consecutive time, inflation has dropped, reducing to 26.4% in November. This represents an 8.8 percentage point decrease from the 35.2% recorded in October. According to the Consumer Price Index data released today, year-on-year inflation, food inflation stood at 32.2% and non-food inflation at 21.7%. Here's government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Enim highlighting the rates.
The rate of inflation stood at 26.4%. This means that between the month of November 2022 and November 2023, generally price of goods and services went up by 26.4%. The 26.4% rate of inflation that was recorded for the month of November 2023 signifies an 8.8 percentage point drop relative to the year-on-year inflation 35.2% that was recorded for the month of October 2023. Western region recorded the highest rate of inflation of 39.8%, and Greater Accra region recorded the least rate of inflation of 19.8%. From a food and non-food perspective, we saw a 10.5 percentage point difference, with food inflation 32.2% relative to 21.7% for the month of November 2023. The decline in food inflation was much steeper than the decline in non-food inflation, with food inflation dropping by 12.6 percentage points, while non-food inflation dropped by 6.0 percentage point. From a locally produced item and in an imported item perspective, we recorded a 1.0 percentage point difference as we continue to see the dominance of imported items inflation, recording a relatively higher rate of inflation of 27.1% relative to locally produced item 26.1% for the month of November 2023. On a month-on-month basis, we've seen a reversal in the decline that we saw in October 2023, as between September and October 2023, we saw a drop from 1.9% to 0.6%. We've seen a reversal of the drop to an increase from 0.6% to 1.5%, indicating a 0.9 percentage point increase between October and November 2023. From a food and non-food perspective, we saw a 1.4 percentage point difference as food inflation recorded a lower rate of 0.8% and non-food inflation a higher rate of 2.2 percentage points.
That was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim. Wilma has some more stories.
Now, the Ghana Meteorological Agency says Ghanaians should brace themselves for a very intense Harmattan season throughout December due to the arrival of a dry continental wind into the country. Ghana has started experiencing dry and dusty winds, a major characteristic of the Harmattan season. Speaking to Citi News, a senior meteorologist at the agency, Frederick Kujo, urged Ghanaians to take the necessary precautions to prevent accidents during the season.
Currently, we have some dust being provided that source region that is Niger and then Chad. So we expect that these dust that have been raised over those areas will be gradually transported into our country to further cause the heavy conditions, which will reduce the stability on our roads. So we advise that when stability becomes very poor, especially in the early hours of the morning and then at dawn, motorists will take necessary precautions, especially by using their fog lights and then also drive within speed limits. Also for the dryness, people who go to farm and then use fires, advise that still take the necessary precautions to prevent any wildfire or fire outbreaks. And then also, since we'll be having intrusion of dust particles in the atmosphere, we advise that maybe we can be putting on our nose masks. Now, nose masks has come to stay with us here in Ghana, so we can still be putting on our nose masks during this period to avoid taking in a lot of dust particles into our respiratory.
Frederick Kujo is a senior meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
Let's do some politics now. The flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has promised to construct affordable houses for teachers if voted into power. According to him, the struggle caused by the 2-year rent advance scheme is worrying. The former president says he wants to prioritize this housing scheme to boost the morale of teachers to give their absolute best. John Mahama was addressing the people of Insaura in the Western region as part of his Building the Ghana We Want tour.
Oh, for high daya, yes, 2 years advance. Not 2 years advance also. Waketi and so sir. Enti already we share teacher for ne and kwon bia. Omo housing schemes are omo de boa omo members.
Many workers are struggling with the 2-year advance rent scheme, and their salaries aren't always enough to cover the cost. My government will support associations like the teachers and farmers by implementing a rent assistance scheme to help build houses for their workers. We will deduct a portion of their monthly salaries for this purpose, and by the time they retire, they will have their own houses. We will take the housing scheme seriously. When I say housing, what I mean is affordable housing, and we will endeavor to price in our local currency.
Ebedu se obekọ retirement no na odan esi ho. Enya afi na obekọ ebusuafie na woni omokoko ntokwa se yempe bebi ma onkotre na ozo kotre.
Flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, speaking at Insaura in the Western region.
Now to Now to some other stories. The director of the Ghana School of Law, Yao Pong, has argued that enforcing the Supreme Court ruling on the ownership of over 70 communities in Accra will require further negotiations. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Numongaishi family of Teshi in the Greater Accra region cannot hold themselves as owners of 70 villages spanning 72,000 acres. The judgment, which was delivered by a panel presided over by the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokunu, affirmed that the Numongaishi family could not hold themselves as owners of the land. Here is Yao Pong's reaction to the story while speaking on the Citi Breakfast Show.
Land, it is community, and that is what makes it more serious. It's community. All the names you mentioned are not the names of their land. These are communities that have chieftaincy, they have heads of family, they have their own established churches and other religious institutions there. How are you going to, in a way, now declare that, okay, now move your shrine, move your churches, and so on. So it will enforcing the judgment in this case will really call for further negotiation, in my view.
Yao Pong further indicated that owners of affected lands whose ownership predates the commencement of the case or acquired land without any notice of the case can appeal the judgment.
In these matters, you need to take the judgment and read it as a whole vis-a-vis other judgments. So when you read it, you mentioned Ashalboche, for example. Ashalboche is also known for a firm decision that especially Judge Nawu JS gave the lead judgment, where they said that anyone who was in possession of the land but was not sued, or anyone who obtained the land before the suit commenced, will not be affected by the terms of the judgment. This is a basic, well-established principle of law. So we need to examine this judgment in its entirety. Maybe if you have time, you can come with the judgment and situate it within the general provision of the established decisions of the Supreme Court itself. Because even though the Supreme Court can depart from such established principles of law, they have to give reasons and why they are departing. And my understanding is that those same principles would apply to, for example, those who have been in possession of this land long before the suit commenced, or those who have been on it without notice of the pendency of the suit, acquired the land from the Numo Mashi family, who have now been declared not to be owners. These people will have to, of course, they will have to go into what we call possession after the court has granted them a writ of possession, which the application will have to be served on all the parties, all the persons concerned. They have the right to go to court and either say that, well, it will be against my right to be heard, the audio terrain parting rule, which is now a constitutional provision. Now, I wasn't heard on the matter, so it will be unconstitutional or unlawful for my property to be taken away from me when I haven't been heard.
You heard the director of the Ghana School of Law, Yao Opong.
Away from that, the leadership of the Senior Staff Association and Teachers and Educational Workers Union will later today meet management of the University of Ghana to discuss a payment plan for their interim market premium allowances. This follows a directive by the National Labour Commission to the three bodies to engage. Members of the Senior Staff Association and TEWU have threatened to go on strike if management fails to pay the interim market premium owed its members, spanning from 2010 to 2018. While management has initiated payments, the meeting is yet to concretize the plan to clear the arrears.
The Ghana National Association of Private Schools is urging the government to provide support to private schools affected by the Akosombo Dam spillage. Schools in the affected areas had to close, with some serving as shelters for residents. Professor Damascus Turosong, the association's president, highlighted the challenges parents are facing and the difficulty of collecting fees. Speaking to Citi News, he called for additional assistance to help these schools overcome their financial struggles during this period.
We had a lot of our furniture, a lot of equipment. When you go into computer labs, some lab equipments have been destroyed. Our libraries where books were destroyed, furniture to sit on, and so on. So that has impacted the schools very negatively. But also for us, our lifeblood, our oxygen is the fees that parents pay. Now we have a situation where a lot of the parents have lost much of their economic sustenance. So it has been difficult getting our fees paid so that we can run schools. In many cases, many of our schools feel challenged asking parents to pay, considering what the parents are going through.
What interventions are you looking at, and who or where are you looking at it coming from?
In providing education, we must first and foremost always look at the beneficiary, which is the Ghanaian child, Ghana as a whole. So let's not look at ownership types, which means we should not be concentrating on this one is a private school, that one is a public school. So government being the one who intervenes in such situations must extend support to all schools, irrespective of the ownership type.
You heard the president of the Ghana National Association of Private Schools, Professor Damascus Turoson.
To some good news now, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has initiated the construction of a 2-lane dual carriageway on the Kaswa to Winneba stretch of the Accra Cape Coast Highway. The dualization will begin from Crispo City to Winneba in the Efutu municipality, including service roads in urbanized sections to ease traffic. Interchanges at Gomwa Akotse and Budumbram are also planned. Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata, notes that the project is essential due to traffic and accidents on the stretch, and the clear right of ways allows for the contractor to start work promptly.
The government is going to see the period as year of accomplishment, because what we started some years ago, a number of them have already been completed, a number of them across the country, but a lot of major projects that have gotten to very high percentage of completion will be fully completed within the next few months. And these projects are also across the country. We are tackling this particular project because of the urgency of it and the difficulties, the inconveniences, the bottlenecks, that, as I have already said, face the traveling and the motoring public. The engineer has vividly described the project, the technical aspect of it, so I wouldn't go there again. I will only want to say that plans are far advanced. You can see behind us, the contractor even mobilizing to site, and the contractor is not Fairmont. That is the company going to undertake this project. And from Kasua to Winneba roundabout, a 30-kilometer stretch is going to be dualized, of course, with service lanes and slip roads into about almost 10 or so lanes, depending upon which area you are talking about.
Minister for Roads and Highway, Kwesi Amoako-Atta.
Now, the president of the Nation Builders Corps, NAPCO, has urged members of the association to take advantage of other youth employment schemes like YouStart and the Business and Employment Assistance Program, BEEP. The group has suffered a non-payment of arrears since the beginning of the year, but has turned to peaceful measures to demand arrears. Speaking to Citi News, the president of the association, Dennis Opoku Oketechie, stated that the new initiatives are in the best interest of those business-oriented as they await the arrival of their arrears.
It's a good thing, but not all of us may be interested in that. Looking at the situation, I would also urge NAPCO trainees to take advantage of these programs drawn by them, because if you really want to get 3, you don't get 3, and you have availability of work, then you make very good use of it, especially those who are business-oriented and can do something with it. Because if you are not careful, the money and the assistance that will be provided by the government will be in vain if we don't get the right people with business-oriented ideas to use that money. Then what will be the use of the money? So this is our advice to the government and to my fellow nation builders in NAPCO trainees.
That was the president of the Nation Builders Court, Dennis Opoku Oketechie.
You're tuned into Citi Prime News, coming to you live from our studios at Adabroka in Accra. Still in the bulletin, minority backs calls for the revocation of legislative instrument which permits mining in forest reserves. Please stay for details.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Ajwapa, what's all this condom business? Oh, I've told her over and over again that she won't get pregnant, and she's still insisting. Oh, isn't she the same person who said we would not have sex till we go out for at least 2 years? For all this time? Oh, and she still can't trust me enough? Ama, when I try to do something small, no, condom this, condom that. So handsome man like me, she probably thinks I have HIV?
Using a condom will protect you and your partner. Condoms are effective for protection against a wide spectrum of STIs and HIV infection. Don't take risks. Use a condom every time. Always come prepared.
This advert is brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission.
I'm back to a brandy. Gonna go to a bunny view. Easy about to a brandy. I'm gonna go to a bunny view. Oh, yo, mamba. Sorry, go to a bunny view. Easy, won't I say. Gonna go to a bunny view. Everyone so say I go to a bunny, but I'm back to a assembly many unit committee members. To a bunny, I ain't young to you. To a bunny. December 19th, please prepare yourself to go out there and cast your vote. Mamba Papa, 19th December, fellow pan so cup me your bread. About 200 no, a bump for a war. Young Papa Sapasa, yeah, voters ID card, put to your coffee. A bomb no my wapa. I can camera no, so yo mamba, got to a banubio. I'm back to a brandy, gonna go to a banubio. Easy about to a brandy, I'm gonna go to a banubio. We yo mamba, sorry, go to a banubio. Easy bon kayese, gonna go to a banubio.
District Assembly elections, please go and cast your vote.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Let's take you to Parliament now, where the Minority Caucus on the Lands and Forestry Committee has endorsed calls for the revocation of legislative instrument LI 2462, which was intended to protect the country's forest reserves. Civil society organizations have petitioned Parliament and the President urging the revocation of the LI, claiming that since its passage a year ago, 8 mining leases have been issued for mining in forest reserves, with 15 mining lease applications in various stages of approval. The group argues that these activities could undermine forest management efforts and the fight against climate change. Ranking member on the Lands and Forestry Committee, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, has been speaking to Citi News.
And necessary point made by the civil society organization that is presenting a petition to the president, to the speaker. I believe very strongly that something has to get the president look at the direction of his own commitment and of the commitment of the Constitution of Ghana. The Constitution of Ghana requires a leader of government and the state in general to ensure that there is forest reserved and it is protected. Now, this president on his own swore to do so when he took over office. And beyond that, according to his own policy, he swore also that he was going to protect the land and the reserves of this country. In fact, when Galamsey started destroying this country to larger proportions than we ever know, the president came along and placed his presidency online and said that he was going to stop Galamsey and preserve the forest. Today, we are seeing exactly the opposite of everything he said. Apart from the failure, when he talked about protecting the public purse, and it's a big failure, his commitment to say he's protecting the forest or the constitutional requirement for him to protect the forest has also gone to the dogs. So this cry for us to revoke CI 2462.
Mr. Rashid Pelpo also called on the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources to expedite steps in presenting the lithium mining agreement before Parliament for scrutiny.
It's a necessity for it to be brought before the Parliament of Ghana. But we have listened to the minister. I have listened to the minister. I've engaged him directly. And he told me what it is. The details of how he wanted the thing to go. He's able to negotiate up to 13%. There is another 3% which can be added. And that in the end, there will still be space for us to have Ghanaians buy into the shares and become shareholder owners, and eventually can have a larger influence on lithium mining in Ghana and all that. It's all attractive to hear, but is that the best? Is the question we are all asking. So what we are asking for is that the minister should bring the matter directly before us in Parliament. Let's have a closer look at the agreement and see what we can do to support the agreement by making sure our inputs find space. The inputs of MPs and other stakeholders find space in the agreement to give it the color and quality we want so that we don't regret later on. Yeah, so that's the point we are looking out for. We want a situation where the agreement will be of general consent. It will be of good to today's generation and of good to tomorrow's generation. It will not be a situation where our present regime will be blamed.
Ranking member on the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament, Dr. Rashid Pelpo.
Now we'll do some health-related stories because the Peru East District has witnessed a surge in typhoid fever cases with over 200 reported incidents attributed to the flooding from the Volta Lake. Some residents in communities like Parembo, Sawaba and Fantiokora have fallen ill after consuming water contaminated with human excreta and waste following the floods. In response to the outbreak, the District Director of Health Services for Peru East, Ahmed Ramsia, tells Citi News health officials foresaw the potential spread and have implemented measures to curb the escalating number of cases.
After floods, some diseases are likely to occur or happen. So we were alert. We were looking out for those diseases such as cholera, diarrhea, typhoid fever, and other water-related diseases. So we were actually prepared for the outbreak in case there will be any. And unfortunately for us, we started recording high numbers of typhoid fever and realized that it was caused by the flood. Typhoid fever is found, the Salmonella typhi is found in the excreta of human beings. And so what we realized was that after the flooding, all the toilets were flooded, the refuse dams in the communities were flooded, and all these debris were washed into the lake. And the people drink from the lake because they don't have any other source of drinking water apart from the lake. And so now they are using the aqua taps, and the cases are coming down.
We had the District Director of Health Services in Peru East, Ahmed Ramsia.
Now, as the Bono region gears up for the upcoming district and unit committee level elections, women aspirants are expressing confidence in their chances of securing victory and actively contributing to development in their electoral areas. This election has witnessed a notable rise in the number of female aspirants at the unit committee level, with 952 aspirants in total vying for district positions and 2,123 candidates at the unit committee level, consisting of 1,658 males and 465 females. The electoral landscape in the region reflects increased participation. The Bono Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Gajasbek Samuel Esrifi Young, highlighted the extensive preparations ahead of the election.
At the moment, we have taken delivery of more than 95% of our materials for the elections. The only thing we are expecting now is the ballot papers, which this morning I was directed to dispatch the regional vehicle to Accra to bring the ballot papers tomorrow. So all things being equal, the ballot papers, which is the only very important material left, will be in the region by tomorrow to clamour all the materials we need for the elections. All the materials received have been dispatched to the various districts. So we are now awaiting for the ballot papers to do so, to complete the materials we need for elections. As I speak with you, training of officials for the elections is ongoing at the various districts. And once we have the materials, we have the officials who are going to work at the respective polling stations, then we can say with all the confidence that we are ready for the election.
Despite the relatively low representation of women in the elections, those who are contesting remain hopeful of securing victory. Earlier, you heard the Bono Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Gajasbek Samuel Esrifi Young. But let's hear some female aspirants in the upcoming district level elections in the Bono region.
I have two men contesting, and what I know is that I've done my part. And, as a woman, you go through a lot of intimidation, name calling, harassment. If I tell you what they are doing, you won't believe it. But I know that at the end of the day, I have to stand for my people because I'm representing a whole population, the women, the children, the aged, everybody. So you can't just come and be saying a whole lot of unnecessary things and then I'll be bothered by that. No, I'm focused, I'm campaigning, the grounds are fertile. I don't want to say it's hands down this thing, but I know at the end of the day, the people of Wadan will look at my good work in the past 4 years and then they will give me another second chance.
I'm incumbent assembly member for Ababo number 2 in the Doma Central in the Bono region. So far, the campaign is going very well, but sometimes we the women, we need some support. So we urge if there will be any support for us, but I've not encountered any problem or challenges so far, so the campaign is going very well. My expectation is I want all the electorate or the people in Aboabo number 2 to come and vote for me massively so that I will become the assembly member and continue the good work I'm doing, or as my motto says, retain for progress. So I want them to vote for me to retain for progress.
Those were some female aspirants in the upcoming district level elections in the Bono region.
We'll stay a little while longer with the district level elections because participation in these elections over the years has witnessed the consistent decline. Citi News reporters Akosi Ochre and Samuel Akom investigate the factors behind this trend and gather insights from various Ghanaians regarding their intention for the upcoming polls scheduled for December 19.
Recent data from the Electoral Commission reveals a downward trend in voter turnout for district-level elections, while the initiation in 1988 saw an impressive 59.3% turnout. Subsequent elections from 1994 to the latest in 2019 consistently reported figures below 50%. This signals a notable decrease in citizen engagement in these crucial electoral processes. The forthcoming District Assembly and Unit Committee elections slated for December 19, 2023 have sparked varied opinions among Ghanaians. Some citizens eagerly anticipate active participation, considering this democratic exercise as an opportunity to choose capable and accountable leaders to address pressing community issues.
Next week, yes, I'll vote. Vote for that person is that he's the only one who construct the road, and now you can go easy and come back easy.
However, a segment of the population approaches these upcoming elections with skepticism. Some individuals express disappointment based on past experiences with local governance.
To me, Assemblyman, I don't see anything that Assemblyman will come and do it. So that's why, in my own opinion, I don't want to go and vote. I don't have interest. Because the whole president, nothing. What about MP at the same time? I come into Assemblyman. That's why I don't want to waste my time and vote for Assemblyman unless somebody convince me well.
The decision of some Ghanaians not to participate in the elections has raised concerns, prompting the sector minister to call on fellow members of parliament to address the issue.
The voter turnout during district level elections leave much to be desired. That by law, we are all members of the district assemblies, and we should devote time, energy to whip up enthusiasm so that this year, on Tuesday, 19th of December 2023, we are not going to have turnouts below 40%, but we'll be aiming at catching up with the turnout for the presidential and parliamentary elections, which is averaging 70%.
Co-founder of the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Professor Ajumandria, sheds light on the reasons behind the consistent low turnout.
Is because there's no excitement about the district assembly election, no excitement at all. The Constitution makes it a non-partisan process. And as you know, when it's non-partisan and the political parties are supposedly not to be involved, even though they do in different ways, then citizens don't get excited to really go to the polls. The other problem, which in my view is even a stronger issue to deal with, is the lack of democratic practice at the local levels. See, elections are normally meaningful to people when their involvement in the development processes, decision-making at those levels include the localities, the local people.
To boost participation, the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, emphasizes their ongoing sensitization campaigns aiming to educate and encourage citizens to show up and vote at the various centers.
Expecting a higher turnout. We're expecting that people will understand. We are past the point where we can encourage people to go and participate as people who would serve. But we are hoping that because we are doing this massive education this time around, the next local election will see a situation where more people, particularly younger people, are putting themselves up and are seeing themselves as the development agents for their communities, are putting themselves up to be elected as assembly members and unity committee members so that they can lead the charge in serving the communities. We will grow this country one community at a time if we take this local government system seriously.
With just few days remaining until the polls, the Electoral Commission assures the public of a smooth and efficient electoral process.
God willing, Saturday, we are hoping that the results are gone, the BDVDs are gone, the ballot papers have been sent, then the training will have been completed. And in that case, I would say will be set for the election proper.
Did the commission have reason to disqualify any of the candidates who put themselves up for the district level election?
Well, some of them could not complete the process. I cannot put figures to that, but some of them couldn't complete. I will not say we disqualify them, but once they did not, we only applied the law. So the law disqualified them.
Meanwhile, aspirants express their readiness to contribute to community development if elected.
We want them to vote for us because we have in mind wanted to distribute a dustbin or share dustbin to the electoral people because as at now, You can see when you go most of our ghettos or our areas, you can see there is a problem in our community.
Let's say when it comes to security, I've been able to, through a few friends, been able to even install some street lights at very dark areas of the community to avert crime. When it comes to community engagement, for instance, there are certain spots within the community where adults and young people even like to play draft, as a means of easing stress. I've donated a few drafts, supported them because they have an event coming up. I say it's giving back to the community service. Now I'm giving back. This very Saturday coming, which is 16th, I'm doing free health insurance for the community for about 1,000 people. If you want to renew, come to the Wembley Park or go to the CP Methodist, or they'll give you a new card. And then we are bringing medical personnel to also provide diagnosis.
The community, we have been telling them to vote for us, not only to vote for us, but we are doing something. We are trying to do something. Although we are not up to that level, but we are trying our best in small way.
Community, we need people to serve. Those who have the humble heart, the humble heart to serve the community. These are the people that we need for them to come to the community to serve.
The report was filed by Citi News' Akusi Otri and Samuel Akom.
We'll stay a while longer on the elections because the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, Ms. Kathleen Addy, is urging all stakeholders and the public to actively participate in the upcoming district-level elections. She called for the election of candidates with a sincere commitment to local development. Ms. Addy encourages voters to assess candidates based on their track records, skills, and plans for community enhancement. Speaking during an engagement with the media ahead of the elections, Kathleen Addy says electing candidates with a genuine commitment to local development would alleviate the additional burden on elected members of parliament to address local issues within their legislative duties.
MPs are elected. They are not development agents, but they are elected. And because they are elected, there's a lot of pressure on them to deliver development, which they didn't sign up for, or which is not their job description. They are legislators and lawmakers. But because they are the ones that people see and elect, and they are closest to them, they are the ones people expect development to emanate from. The development should come from your local assembly. The local assembly structure is a replication of the national governance structure, but just at your community level so that it's closer to you so that you can benefit more directly from it. So for all of these reasons, it's so important that people understand what is at stake if we don't take an interest in these local level elections.
Kathleen Addy is chairperson at the National Commission for Civic Education, NCC. This is still the Citi Prime News. With me, Adjuatin Kramadomna and Wilma Obobisa Coleman. Still ahead in the bulletin, Winners Chapel International donates 100,000 Ghana cedis to support Citi FM, Citi TV's relief efforts for victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage. We'll tell you more shortly. Please stay.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
It is your time to vote for your assembly members and unit committee members. So get involved and vote. It's a civic duty required of you as a Ghanaian. So get involved and vote.
A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
It is your time to vote for your assembly members and unit committee members. So get involved and vote.
A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. we can help you maintain it naturally.
Hi, my name is Stephen Appiah, the team coordinator of the Black Stars. I always like to keep hydrated naturally, every day, any day. S Natural Mineral Water does the trick.
Manufactured through a double purification process to produce pure, natural drinking water. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596 273 546 or 0596 273 547. This advert is FDA approved.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories this afternoon. The Ghana Mortuary Workers Association has been summoned to meet with the National Labour Commission and the Ministry of Health on December 21, 2023 to provide an update on the payment of arrears owed the association. This action follows certain teaching hospitals violating orders to settle the outstanding amounts. In an interview with Citi News, the General Secretary of the Ghana Mortuary Workers Association, Richard Jordan, says some of his members have received partial payments.
So what I'm saying is that, we had timelines from them as the last time we met. Yeah. And the teaching hospitals, Olebu, Konfanochi, Tamale, Ho, and Keko, they promised that they were going to pay our members by close of 8th of December. But 3 of the teaching hospitals have fulfilled their promise, and Kolebu and Konfanochi defied the order. As we speak yesterday, not even a single person has been paid. So at the meeting yesterday with the National Labour Commission, including the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Labour, there was an agreement that the time should be extended to 20th of December 2023. But on Wednesday, 20th December. So their time has been extended by a week. And we should come to the Commission on 21st for update of the payment.
General Secretary of the Ghana Mortuary Workers Association, Richard Jordan.
Now, away from that, the AU High Representative of Silence in the Gun, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, has urged states in the West Africa and Sahel regions to invest significantly in robust approaches to effectively address violent extremism and terrorism. Dr. Chambers says many of the measures or modules employed by countries to ensure peace and stability are outdated and insignificant to address the contemporary nature of the threats facing the sub-region. Speaking after a peace-building conference organized by the West Africa Network for Peace Building, WANEP, under the Research and Action for Peace Network project in Accra, Dr. Chambers stressed the need for substantial funding to counter terrorism.
The funding of African peace missions by the AU and the ECOWAS and other African regs and mechanisms will be able to benefit from direct UN-assessed contributions to ensure reliable, dependable funding to make them more efficient. We believe that when this funding is available, this can enhance the role of African peace missions to take up some of these intractable challenges, such as we face today in the Sahel.
You heard the AU High Representative of Silence in the Gun, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers.
Moving on, the Kumasi Traditional Council, presided over by the Asantehene Otumfuo Seitu II, has sought clarity from the Education Minister on the conduct of teacher licensure exams, which became the center of recent controversy. This inquiry took place during the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs meeting in Kumasi, where the sector minister was invited to address key questions about the state of education in the region. While commending Dr. Yawose Educhum for introducing various reforms, the Asantehene urged him to explain to Ghanaians why the government is insisting on conducting the teacher licensure exams.
As a teacher for Yana was almost a quarter BB.
We have been hearing about the need for teachers to take the licensure exams, so I want you to clarify that for us. Some are making the argument that why should one take such an exam after attaining all the relevant qualification in the field? We know the same practice pertains in the legal and medical professions, but we still need you to explain it to us.
you said doctor for you, engineer for you, and I was a teacher. The brother changed me.
You heard the Asante Otun said to the second. Well, in response, the Education Minister, Dr. Yawose Duchum, likened the teacher licensure exams to the professional exams that medical doctors and lawyers take to acquire the necessary licenses before practicing.
Now,
The concept of the licensure exams can be likened to the exams that medical doctors and lawyers take before practicing. That is what will indeed show that one is a professional in the field and it is globally accepted. With this kind of licensing, an action can be taken against anyone who engages in any misconduct.
Degree now, we have
Education Minister Dr. Yawose Duchum.
Now, management of the Lands Commission has disclosed that the commission is yet to receive the official Supreme Court judgment on the Numo Maishi family land case. The Deputy Executive Secretary of the Lands Commission, Jones Oforibuedu, stated during a training program for communication focal persons of the commission in Koforidua that the commission will determine the next course of action upon receiving the official Supreme Court judgment.
There was a judgment in favor of Numo Machi, which has been in court all these years. If you read the story, it's been lingering on for so many years. And the Supreme Court has overturned that judgment and is asking the Lands Commission to, as it were, regularize the documentation in line with the new judgment that has come. It is early days yet, so we need to receive the formal judgment from the Supreme Court, and then the Lands Commission would oblige accordingly.
You had the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Lands Commission, Jones Oforibuedu.
The leadership of Winners Chapel International Ghana has donated 100,000 Ghana cedis towards the next phase of Citi FM Citi TV's relief campaign for victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage. The Citi Relief Campaign has taken an ambitious turn with the construction of resettlement centers at various stages of completion in 4 communities. National Pastor of Winners Chapel International Ghana, Pastor Victor Taiwo Adebayo, says it's essential to contribute to relief efforts for the victims.
Oh, it's a duty, as a community-based organization where we have branches all over the nation, and as part of our social responsibility, we have to also show our part, as in playing our part in ensuring that the community that we associate ourselves with, we are also concerned when they are in need, and that is the most important thing of the ministry.
What are you bringing for the flood victims? What is on your heart to lay before them?
We have a check to present for the sum of 100,000 Ghana cedis.
100,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes, like you said, we fully identify with you.
Wow.
Because the good Lord enjoins us to do that.
Wow.
So this is the check.
100,000 Ghana cedis. Thank you very much. That's massive. That's massive.
You heard the National Pastor of Winners Chapel International Ghana, Pastor Victor Taiwo Adebayo, and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Winners Chapel International Ghana, Elder Isaac Ni Osei Ajiman, speaking on the Citi Breakfast Show.
Now, the Development Bank Ghana has demonstrated its commitment to the fight against breast cancer by making a generous donation of 100,000 Ghana cedis to the breast cancer unit of the Kolibu Teaching Hospital and the 37 Military Hospital. Breast cancer constitutes a significant 29.5% of cancer cases globally, with Ghana experiencing a notable prevalence rate of 19.5% for such cases. The Chief Executive Officer of the Development Bank Ghana, Kwame Duka, says the donation is part of ongoing efforts to support the fight against breast cancer in Ghana. He added that the organization will sustain such contributions for the next 5 years.
We believe in staying with our partners, we believe in staying with our donors, and in this particular case, as we make our contribution, we committing to do this for the next 5 years so that there's continuity and not just a one-off. So, unfortunately, you'll see us again next year.
You heard the Chief Executive Officer for the Development Bank Ghana, Kwame Naduka. Now, the Head of Department of Surgery at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Professor J.E. Mensah, underscored some challenges faced by the hospital, particularly citing poverty in Ghana as a significant obstacle. This economic constraint affects the hospital's ability to procure medications effectively, limiting doctors in their treatment approach to patients. Professor Mensah addressed these challenges during the presentation on breast cancer awareness by Development Bank Ghana.
Bend over backwards to solve their problems, even if you don't have money. That is where our biggest challenge is. If anybody, my daughters, my colleagues, medical, Prof, what is the biggest challenge in practicing medicine in Ghana? It is poverty. If the person has money, your mind is free. Go and do this, you go and do that, go and do that. You do everything. You go to a theater, everything is ready, you operate. But these people don't have anything. And these are our people. So we have to bend over backwards to solve their problems. And we can only do so with assistance from people like you. A lot of the big equipment that we use in Korle Bu wasn't purchased by Korle Bu and the government of Ghana. Were donations from grateful patients. And secondly, this is a teaching hospital. If we don't open our doors to attract people who are having financial challenges, we can't train anybody. You know, surgery is a pure apprenticeship. You can't learn surgery from watching videos. You have to operate. So we need these patients who have financial challenges. A problem we are facing now is patients suing us. Patients have started suing us. And it's something that as a country we should be careful about.
That was the Head of Department of Surgery at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Professor J.E. Mensah.
To some other stories, the Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asensio-Boakye, has cut short for the commencement of the first project under the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development GARID project. This initiative aims to enhance flood risk and solid waste management while improving access to basic infrastructure and services in targeted flood-prone, low-income communities in the Greater Accra region. The sword-cutting ceremony held in Alugboshi in the Okankwe North Municipality was deemed a crucial milestone in addressing perennial issues such as flooding, poor road conditions and slum situations in the country, as highlighted by the Sector Minister Francis Asensio-Boakye.
There are several interventions. Some of them include what we are doing today, community upgrading of infrastructure. Some of them we are constructing very big stop drains in Kaneshi, in Nima, in Achimota, and even here in Alugboshi, and some other parts of Accra, all within the Odo River Basin. As part of that, there's also what we call early flood warning systems. It's a system that will inform the residents that rains are coming, and it has the potential of causing serious flooding, so that it will help the residents to prepare, to take the necessary steps to evacuate the period that the flood of the rains and the potential flooding event. So that's what it is about. And it is one of the interventions that we are using to address the challenges associated with flood and waste management challenges under the GARID project.
Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asensio-Boakye.
Now, education think tank Africa Education Watch is calling on government through the Ministry of Education to begin the process of phasing out the boarding system in the secondary school system in favor of a more extensive day system. The education think tank argues that this change will improve enrollment in senior high schools, as their research findings reveal that the cost of items on the prospectus list is hindering parents' ability to send their wards to school, despite the implementation of the free SHS program. Divine Quest, Senior Programs Officer for Africa Education Watch, provided insights on the matter during its education financing conference.
In the medium to long term, the Ministry of Education must develop and implement a strategy to gradually transition Ghana's secondary education system from the current boarding as a norm to a day as a norm. with boarding as an exception for students without reasonable access to day school. So that is the next recommendation. As you are seeing that here, if those who have to stay in another community having community days in a high school, they are encouraging that over 5,000 costs just because they do not have access to secondary school that they can commute to easily to school. If they were to have any close to them, they will also, like the 1/3 of their colleagues in those communities that are not incurring those extra costs, they will also need to incur those extra costs. So we need to gradually get to that point of having day as the norm. Currently, we are doing 80% of boarding, 20% of day. We can reverse it.
Divine Pe further called on government to use data from the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty Leap to make the free SHS program more targeted.
Reducing the prosperity to 2001 is okay. I feel some people will still be left behind if they are to access secondary school education. Our recommendations, quickly. 1. In the short term, the Ministry of Education must target the policies to focus on children from poorest households using data from the LEAP program as a point of entry. This will enable the government.
You had a senior program officer for Africa Education Watch, Divine Pe.
And on that note, we end today's edition of Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studio at Adabraka in Accra. For more news, visit citinewsroom.com. My name is Ajua Tinkrama Domina, and I was here with
Wilma Obobisa Coleman.
Up next is Citi Business News with Natali Nete Ajaho. Please stay.